Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is going to punch straight through the excuses you've been hiding behind your whole life. Can you transform your life in 7 days? Most people laugh at this question. Weak men shrug and say it's impossible. But the truth is savage, simple, and unforgiving. You can change everything in a single week if you're willing to tear down the version of yourself that's been losing for years. And that's exactly why most people never do it. They're scared of who they could become. They're terrified of their own potential. But you're here, which means some part of you is ready to become dangerous. Transformation isn't about time, it's about intensity. And most people will never understand this because they've been conditioned to believe change requires years of slow progress, endless planning, and waiting for the perfect moment. That's the lie that keeps the world weak. The truth is far more brutal and far more empowering. Your life can shift the moment you choose to attack it with absolute force. When you bring intensity into your actions, you compress time. What others take months to accomplish, you can achieve in days because you're no longer moving like a tourist in your own life. You're moving like a warrior with a mission. And that's exactly what transformation requires. Not hesitation, not gentle steps, not half-hearted effort. It demands a full power assault on every habit, distraction, and limitation that has held you back. The moment you turn your mind into a weapon, everything changes. Decisions become sharper. Focus becomes cleaner. When you operate with intensity, you stop moving like a victim of circumstance and start moving like the architect of your own reality. Every action becomes purposeful. Every second becomes valuable. You stop wasting time scrolling, complaining, delaying, and you start using time like a sharpened edge. And the world notices. People will wonder how you're progressing so quickly, how your energy changed, how your results skyrocketed in such a short window of time. They'll call you lucky. They'll call you obsessed. They'll call you extreme. But they won't understand the truth. You simply decided to raise the level at which you operate. You decided to stop living at 20 and switch to 100. That single decision separates the average from the unstoppable. You want another hook? Intensity exposes the real you. When you demand more from yourself than you ever have, you discover strength you didn't know existed. You see what you're capable of when you stop treating your potential like a hobby. You realize that most of your limits were illusions built by fear, comfort, and the environment around you. Break that, and breakthroughs become normal. The world becomes smaller. Challenges become manageable. A life built on comfort is a life built on weakness. You don't build confidence by choosing what's easy. You build confidence by doing what most people refuse to do. When you deliberately walk into discomfort, when you push your mind, your body, your discipline, you unlock a level of power that only pressure can reveal. Comfort may feel warm, but pressure is what shapes steel. The world doesn't respect comfort. The world respects resilience, hunger, and self-mastery. Look around you. The people stuck in the same place year after year aren't unlucky. They're comfortable. They don't want change badly enough to suffer for it. They say they want success, but they won't sacrifice. They want a better life, but they won't endure the pain required to build it. They want results without resistance, and that mentality is why their dreams die in the same room they were born in. Your comfort zone may feel safe, but it's also the cage that holds your potential hostage. Every time you choose comfort, you trade your future for temporary ease. You trade growth for stagnation. You trade ambition for softness. Another hook? Discomfort is the fastest way to discover who you really are. When you face hard moments, when you're tired, when you're stressed, when everything in you wants to quit, that's when your true character reveals itself. Comfort hides weakness. Discomfort exposes it. And once you see your weaknesses clearly, you can destroy them. People avoid discomfort because it makes them confront their flaws. But high achievers chase discomfort because they know it turns flaws into strength. Every difficult workout, every disciplined choice, every early morning, every sacrifice sharpens you. It teaches your mind that you are in control, not your feelings, that you dictate your actions, not your excuses, that you train your life, not the other way around. Comfort creates average. Discomfort creates evolution. When you willingly put yourself into situations that test you, stretch you, and challenge you, you build mental muscles that the weak will never understand. You stop fearing failure because you've learned to operate under pressure. You stop relying on motivation because discipline becomes your identity. You stop waiting for the right moment because you understand that discomfort is the gateway to breakthrough. The person who embraces discomfort becomes unstoppable because the world can't break someone who has already built themselves through pressure. Comfort is easy. Discomfort is earned. And the moment you choose discomfort, your life begins to change. Your mindset sharpens, your decisions become stronger, your energy rises, your drive intensifies. You begin to operate at a level that others can't keep up with. They wonder how you outgrow them so fast. They wonder how you stay consistent. They wonder how you stay focused. The answer is simple. You stopped seeking what feels good and started chasing what makes you powerful. The fastest way to transform yourself is to declare war on comfort, to refuse the easy path, to walk willingly into challenges that make you stronger. Because every time you choose discomfort, you upgrade, you evolve, turns chaos into clarity. Another hook, discipline makes you powerful because it builds resilience. When life hits you, and it will, an undisciplined person breaks. Their emotions control them, their circumstances dictate their actions. But a disciplined person is trained for difficulty. They know how to push through discomfort. They know how to act even when everything feels heavy. They know how to stay focused when others panic. Discipline is the armor that protects your goals from the unpredictability of life. It gives you the strength to keep moving even when things go wrong, because discipline creates stability from within. People praise discipline in athletes, entrepreneurs, fighters, soldiers, and leaders, because deep down, everyone knows discipline is the foundation of greatness. You don't rise to the top by accident. You rise because you showed up on the days you didn't want to. You worked when others slept. You studied when others partied. You trained when others made excuses. Discipline is the dividing line between those who dream and those who achieve. And the truth is brutal. If you can't control your habits, someone else will control your life. What discipline gives you that nothing else can is certainty. Certainty that you can rely on yourself. Certainty that you can handle pressure. Certainty that you can build the life you want instead of hoping for it. Once you taste that certainty, you never want to go back. Because discipline doesn't just help you reach goals. It transforms you into the kind of person who reaches goals naturally. It becomes your identity, your standard, your advantage. When others quit, you continue. When others hesitate, you strike. When others wait for motivation, you are already in motion. That is why discipline is the true path to power. It takes an ordinary person and turns them into a force. And once discipline becomes who you are, no obstacle, no excuse, no weakness has the ability to stop you. You change your life the moment you stop negotiating with your excuses, because every excuse you allow becomes a chain that locks you to the weaker version of yourself. Most people convince themselves that they're logical, that they're taking their time, that they're waiting for the right opportunity. But in reality, they're simply giving their excuses more power than their ambition. Excuses sound harmless. They sound soft, reasonable, even protective. But underneath that softness is destruction. Excuses are the invisible barrier between who you are and who you could be. They don't scream. They whisper. They whisper things like, "You're tired. You deserve a break. Start tomorrow. It's not the right moment." And people obey those whispers like commands. When you obey your excuses, you surrender your potential. Here's the hook. The strongest people in the world aren't strong because they never feel weak. They're strong because they refuse to negotiate with weakness. They don't sit down at the table with excuses. They don't debate laziness. They don't entertain doubt. They operate with a level of inner authority that says, "I do what needs to be done, not what I feel like doing." When you remove negotiation from your life, your path becomes clear. Suddenly, things that used to feel impossible become routine. You no longer ask, "Can I do this?" You say, "I must do this." That shift alone changes everything. Excuses create a false sense of safety. They make you believe that delaying action protects you from failure, from embarrassment, from discomfort. But in reality, delaying action guarantees failure. It guarantees regret. It guarantees you stay stuck in the same position year after year while your dreams gather dust. When you stop negotiating with excuses, you confront this truth. Your life is in your hands, not in your feelings. Not in your circumstances, not in your environment. That realization is uncomfortable, but it's also liberating, because once you take full responsibility, you unlock full power. Another hook, excuses thrive in silence. They grow in the dark corners of your mind when you're alone, tired, or overwhelmed. That's why weak minds crumble under pressure. They are trained to obey the voice that says stop, but high achievers are built differently. They treat excuses like the enemy. The moment an excuse appears, they shut it down. They redirect their focus. They reinforce their standards. They demand excellence from themselves, even when nobody is watching. And that discipline transforms them into people who outwork, outlast, and outperform everyone around them. When you stop negotiating with excuses, your self-worth rises. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to believe in your abilities because you see the evidence of your consistency. Every time you follow through instead of backing down, you strengthen your identity. You become the kind of person who takes action, the kind of person who others can rely on, the kind of person who keeps promises to others and to yourself. And when you trust yourself, hesitation dies, fear fades, doubt loses its influence. Your mind becomes sharper, clearer, more controlled. People look for the secret to success everywhere except the mirror. They chase hacks, shortcuts, and strategies while ignoring the simple truth. The main thing holding them back is the excuses they keep negotiating with. They tell themselves they're waiting for motivation, waiting for the right plan, waiting for a perfect environment. But those are illusions. Success begins the moment you stop allowing excuses to dictate your decisions. The moment you silence that voice of weakness and replace it with decisive action, your momentum becomes unstoppable. Your life changes when you make a non-negotiable decision, a decision that says, from this moment forward, I execute no matter what. When you decide that your excuses are no longer valid, your actions become powerful. Your focus sharpens, your habits elevate. Your entire energy shifts. The man who refuses to negotiate with excuses is dangerous because he becomes consistent, and consistency outperforms talent, luck, and intelligence every single time. Pressure creates strength because nothing powerful is ever built in comfort. People love the idea of growth, but avoid the environments that force growth to happen. They want to become unshakable without ever being shaken. They want confidence without challenge, success without struggle, and greatness without pressure. But that's not how the world works. Pressure isn't your enemy. It's your greatest ally. It's the force that shapes your character, your mindset, your habits, and your identity. Without pressure, you remain soft. Without pressure, your edges stay dull. Without pressure, your potential stays locked inside you, untouched and unused. Here's the hook. Pressure exposes who you really are. Anyone can act disciplined when life is easy. Anyone can talk big when nothing is testing them. But the moments when everything feels heavy, when you're tired, stressed, overwhelmed, and on the edge, those are the moments the real version of you steps forward. Pressure strips away the fake confidence, the empty talk, the comfort-driven excuses. It reveals your true strength or your true weakness. And once you see the truth, you can no longer hide from it. That's why pressure is priceless. It gives you an honest reflection that comfort will never show you. Pressure builds resilience the same way lifting heavy builds muscle. You don't grow by avoiding the weight, you grow by embracing it. Every struggle you face, every challenge you endure, every obstacle you overcome is a form of training. It teaches your mind that you can handle more than you thought. It teaches your spirit that you don't break easily. It teaches your willpower that it can overpower fear, excuses, and uncertainty. Most people crumble when life gets hard because they never allowed themselves to be tested. They live protected, comfortable, small, so when a real challenge hits, they have no armor. But you, the moment you choose to step into pressure, you begin forging that armor piece by piece. Another hook, pressure turns ordinary people into leaders. When others panic, a person trained by pressure stays calm. When others quit, a pressure-built person adjusts and pushes forward. When others break down, a pressure-built person stands up with sharper focus. Leadership isn't about confidence when things are easy. It's about composure when everything is falling apart. That composure is built through pressure. It gives you the ability to move strategically while others freeze. It gives you clarity when others drown in emotion. It makes you a foundation others can rely on. Pressure also destroys the illusion of limits. You learn what you're capable of only when you push yourself beyond comfort, when you're under pressure and you still finish the work, when you're exhausted and still choose discipline, when life tests you and you refuse to stop. You realize your limits were never real. They were stories. Stories created by fear, stories created by society, stories created by your past. Pressure forces you to rewrite those stories with truth. Truth written through action, not intention. When you embrace pressure, you no longer fear failure because pressure teaches you that failure isn't fatal. It's feedback, it's sharpening, it's preparation. Weak people avoid pressure because they fear loss. Strong people seek it because they know pressure is the path to mastery. Pressure creates focus, discipline, urgency, and ambition, all things comfort can never provide. Comfort is passive. Pressure is active. Comfort keeps you stagnant. Pressure pulls greatness out of you. The strongest, most successful, most respected individuals did not rise by escaping pressure. They rose by surviving it, learning from it, and transforming because of it. They didn't run from hard situations. They ran toward them. They understood that diamonds are nothing but coal that refuse to crumble under extreme force. Pressure didn't break them. It revealed their value. That's the power of pressure. It shapes you into someone unrecognizable compared to who you were, someone sharper, someone tougher, someone more capable. But when you commit fully, even for a brief period, you wake up a side of yourself that has been dormant for years. Here's the hook. 7 days is enough to destroy the version of you that has been losing. It's enough to break the habits that weaken you. It's enough to build the confidence that you can rely on yourself. Because transformation isn't about the length of time. It's about the intensity of your focus. When you attack your goals with relentless energy for 7 straight days, you shock your system. You force adaptation. You force growth. You force your mind and body to rise to a higher standard. That sudden spike in effort creates momentum. And momentum is the most powerful force in personal development because once it starts rolling, it becomes harder to stop winning than it ever was to start. 7 days is enough to prove to yourself that you're capable of far more than you believed. Most people's limits are not physical. They are mental walls built from comfort, fear, and weak routines. But when you wake up early for 7 days straight, when you train harder than ever for 7 days, when you cut off distractions, avoid temptations, and operate with precision, those walls begin to crumble. You experience firsthand that the limits you thought were fixed were nothing but illusions. And once you see that, you'll never allow yourself to go back to a life controlled by excuses. You become addicted to progress, addicted to discipline, addicted to the feeling of being in control of yourself. Another hook, 7 days, is enough to build habits that change the direction of your life. People think habits are built only through repetition over months, but that's not entirely true. Habits begin the moment you attach identity to them. If you spend 1 week acting like a disciplined, focused, powerful version of yourself, your mind starts to believe that this is who you are. Identity shifts faster than people realize. You don't need years to become a different person. You need consistent action and a strong enough emotional impact. And nothing creates emotional impact like a week where you push yourself harder than you ever have. 7 days is enough to turn average into dangerous. When you spend a week operating at a level far above your norm, your energy shifts, your mindset sharpens, your resilience strengthens. People feel the difference in how you speak, how you move, how you think. You carry yourself differently. You begin making decisions based on your higher self instead of the insecure, uncertain version of you. That week becomes proof that you can rise whenever you choose. And once you have proof, the excuses die. Fear loses control. Doubt gets quieter. Because you now know that a higher level is accessible. 7 days of relentless effort also rewires your relationship with discomfort. What used to feel difficult starts feeling normal. What used to drain you starts energizing you. When you push through tiredness, temptation, boredom, and fear for a full week, your tolerance for discomfort expands drastically. And discomfort tolerance is the foundation of greatness. Weak people avoid discomfort. Strong people master it. 7 days of pressure is enough to toughen your mind and strip away the softness that held you back. Finally, 7 days is enough to create a spark that becomes a fire when fed with discipline. That fire is the start of a lifetime of greatness. You may not achieve every goal in a week, but you absolutely can become the version of yourself who will. Because the purpose of these 7 days isn't to finish the journey. It's to become the person capable of dominating it. 1 week of relentless effort is more transformative than a lifetime of average living. The question is not whether 7 days is enough. The real question is whether you're willing to give 7 days everything you've got and unlock the power that has been waiting inside you all along. So here's the challenge. Give me 7 days. 7 days where you don't quit. 7 days where you don't break your rules. 7 days where you act like the version of you that you've always dreamed of becoming. If you can survive that, your life will never go back to normal. And that's the whole point. You weren't born to be average. Your life is your responsibility. Your future is your weapon. Now the question is no longer, can you transform your life in 7 days? The real question is, are you brave enough to try? If you are, then welcome to the beginning of the strongest version of yourself.